Don't you worry, the clip's about to begin, but don't forget to subscribe. Or else. Don't make me turn this website around.
You ready to take some callers?
I'm ready when you are. I'm game.
All right. Let's, we've got Isabel, who's in Oklahoma, so kindred neighbor for Seth. How are you, Isabel? You're on with Matt and Seth.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right.
So do you want me to go ahead and ask my question? Sorry.
Absolutely. I mean, I want to make sure that you get whatever time you need, and that if we have answers for you that are useful, then you benefit. And if we don't, then you can say, man, I called those guys on the line on Sunday. They had absolutely nothing informative to say.
Okay. I'm trying to not be nervous. I'm sorry. Okay. I know you're normal people. I've heard, but anyway, my question was just that I'm thinking about coming out as an atheist to my parents, and I know you've heard that question a million times, but I was just wondering, with my specific situation, how I should do that. Do you mind if I give like a very brief summary of what I'm kind of dealing with?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I went to a Christian school, and most of the time when I say that, people assume Catholic, but it was actually a Southern Baptist Christian school. And my mom taught there. And at this point, I'm just wondering how I should come out to them, because I've changed their beliefs on a lot of political issues. And I'm afraid if I come out to them as an atheist, they're going to think everything that I've told them about like social justice issues, race issues, LGBT issues is like hedonistic or like satanic or something. Because they're very randomly religious. They're the type of like go to church 5 times a year type of Christian, never really read the Bible. I've read it 3 times. So I'm not really sure how to tell them, but it's really bothering me and I want to tell them.
I want you to teach me, because I can't change my folks' mind about anything political or religious. So you're already a step ahead of me. Seth, what do you think about coming out to family? I mean, we've talked about this a lot.
I'm never going to be able to get. My parents and I have had a rough decade.
I'm not sure if he's talking, but I cannot hear him. I go.
Hello? Can everybody else hear me?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes.
So you can
but
hear
you
me,
cannot
but you
hear
can't
me?
Yeah.
Yes, you can, or yes, you cannot. Can you hear the sound of my fall? Walk to the light. Mommy is in the light. Can you hear me?
Evidently not. So I will answer the question, since for some reason,
sorry.
It's okay, Isabel. It's not your problem. I don't think your
you
phone
and I can
has
talk
the
about it
filter
after
on
the call quickly. So
okay, we'll try it again. Try it again, Seth.
Okay.
All right. Test 1, 2. My favorite color is blue.
Yes, I can hear you.
I love long walks on the beach. Okay. All right. Well, I've had a long, rough, about 13 years with my own parents. The fallout's been significant, and it's cost us a pretty big part of our relationship. And so I'm a lot like Matt. I don't have the golden ticket on this. I'll tell you where I've come in my own life that has helped me, though. I think you need to decide why you want to come out to them. Is it that you feel guilty, that you're not being honest? Maybe you can articulate it here. What at this moment drives you? Do you feel like you just have to get it out?
Partially, yes, but also I feel like I'm not trying to manipulate them, but it feels like I am actually changing their opinions to be very secular, and they don't even realize that I'm doing that. Like I'm influencing them to the point that they know that I'm influencing them, but if they find out that I'm an atheist, they're going to be like disgusted by the fact that they've had their whole belief system, to the point that my mom's actually quit her job at that school because she's really disgusted by their practices after I've kind of pointed it out over the years. And so I'm just like, not really.
I want your
sure.
autograph. How does that happen? I think sometimes political points of view are even hard because they speak so much to your values. I think changing someone's political viewpoints can be often harder than changing their religious worldviews. I'm sorry, Matt, didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I mean completely. I am absolutely dumbfounded. So here's the thing, Isabel. I adore the fact that you called, especially with the two of us on here, because Seth's been very open and public about the conflicts between him and his family here. I have as well, including reading my 50th birthday card that came from my mom. But it's like they're still like ultra right wing conservative. You know, my mom might think that the earth is flat and listens to Alex Jones. Like it's a bridge too far for me. And so we just don't talk about it. You've made progress on the things that I think are most important because they get directly to how people act and how people treat each other and those interactions. There may have been enough underlying shift that simply saying, by the way, I don't believe that there's a God, and making sure that they know that this is not you trying to say you're wrong and you need to stop believing in God too. I've changed your mind on these other things. Why haven't you changed on this? That's not going to happen. You already clearly have a relationship with him where you can communicate, and you're already good enough at it to say, here's the things. All you have to do is get to the God thing and do what are the reasons why you believe? And if I can find fault in them, maybe you'll understand why I don't believe and why it's so important for me to make sure that you know and understand who I truly am, so that I don't want you, thinking that I'm someone I'm not, because then our relationship isn't on a good foundation.
I also think, and I don't mean this in a facetious way, or malicious way, rather, you don't owe them an explanation. Like, your journey is really about you, living life on your terms, living to your values, and you haven't lied to them about these social issues, these humanistic points of view. Like, okay, fine. The root is you walked away from religion and you reevaluate it. In fact, I get the vibe you and I probably walked a lot of the same steps, right? Southern Baptist school, man, that rings a bell. And, but you aren't being disingenuous with them. You're having conversations about what it really boiled down to, not religious issues, but human rights issues. So if you're not there and it doesn't come up organically, or you feel like the cost benefit at this point is no, I'd rather not get into it. You don't owe them anything. I think you need to decide what's right for you. Do it on your terms. And if and when that time comes, I like the word I instead of you. So instead of saying, well, your belief doesn't make any sense, it's I've examined this and I'm having trouble making sense of it. I am not convinced that a God exists. I genuinely want to focus on human beings, human goodness. I'm interested if there's a God, but I, at this point, have no God belief. If you use the word I, it's a little bit beneficial in helping to keep them, from not going back on their heels, doubling down and feeling attacked. And it also makes sure that the journey is about you, which it should be. I mean, this is your life. Your ticket, you get a chance to decide the terms. Okay.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I just don't want to accidentally undo a bunch of stuff that I've already feel like is the most important thing. Like you said, the things that they're making decisions by, anti-vax type of mentality, or just like gay rights, like those types of things. I don't want them to go back on just because they think I don't believe in a God, which really has nothing to do with that.
I mean, do you
start
have
the
to have
conversation that way?
I'm sorry.
Start the
go ahead, Matt.
conversation
Forgive
with
me. There's a little bit of a delay, so I'm walking on you.
Yeah, it's no, but you can start the conversation there that way. You can say, hey, the fact that you agree with me about these things doesn't mean that I'm always right, and the fact that I'm definitely wrong about some things doesn't mean I'm wrong about those. There's no reason for them to change their mind about whether Black Lives Matter or vaccines work just because you're like, hey, I'm not convinced that there's a God. I'm pretty confident after all the years that I've been doing this, and what a miserable failure I am compared to you when it comes to talking to parents. The fact that you've made headway elsewhere, I am very confident that you will do fine, and that you will have a conversation with them that is not going to undo everything you've done.
Hang on. I'm texting you my parents' number. If you can convince your parents, I'm going to turn you on to my, I'm going to send you my parents' number. I want you to call them, and I want them off of Fox News and Rush Limbaugh by 2. I'll give you a couple weeks, and you give me a report from the field. Let me know how you did. Will that be all right?
That's hilarious.
It's the one area where I can.
You inspire me. You remind me.
I one up you.
You remind
my
me
mom
that
doesn't watch Fox News.
it's possible, right? Minds can be changed, even the minds that we consider to be extreme or extremist. You inspire me. So if nothing else comes out of that call, just know that you've been a tremendous encouragement to me, and I'm sure many others in the audience. You're amazing.
Yeah.
That's so nice for you to say. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. That's so
I tell you what
sweet.
needs to happen, Isabel, and that's this. Whatever you decide to do, however you decide to have this conversation, when it's over or when you get like a status update, call us back. Call me on the hang up. Call us here on the line on Sundays or whatever, and let us know what's going on, because your story is going to be mirrored by thousands of other non-believers. Your story, your interaction there is going to be useful and helpful to all the people who are frustrated, like me, that they can't even get past the basics. Like I can't get them to they trust science until science comes in conflict with something that some batshit crazy preacher on YouTube said. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, the earth's flat and, George Soros and whatever. I would love to hear more from you. Like keep us updated. Let us know that it went well, or what you learned, or when something went wrong, how you handled it. Because I'm not kidding. I'm not going to blow smoke at anybody. I'm genuinely impressed that you've had as much success as you have. You remind me a little bit of Dan Parker, who, unlike myself and Seth, comes out as an atheist, sits down, has a conversation with his parents, and now they're non-believers too. And I'm like, how the hell does this happen? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my family?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. I'll definitely keep in contact if anything updates for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you.
We do wish you all the luck, and don't take any of it too hard, because, and I'm confident you won't. You're clearly a good person who's good at communicating. Your family loves you. And that goes a long way. I mean, my family loves me. I don't have any question about that. I have some questions about what they mean by love sometimes, but I don't have any question that they actually love me. It's that different page that we're on, and your situation is going to be different from other people's, but there's going to be countless people watching these episodes who are like, oh, that's what my family's like, or I wish my family was like. What did she do that I can do?
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for calling.
Anything else? Any other last minute questions or comments?
Just the 50th birthday thing you talked about, like super inspiring. Just saying, this is the Atheist Experience excerpt you did. I actually saved it to like a best songs playlist just because I like hearing it, because it's very inspirational for how to conduct interpersonal relationships with family, to me at least. So that was really cool. And thanks for all the encouragement.
Well, thank you very much. It's kind to say. I keep that card, by the way. That card is in the glove box in my truck so that it's always around.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw it away at all. My mother will be buried with that card in her coffin. That's when I will let go of that moment. Wow. Now, in between then, we'll still have conversations. We still love each other and everything else. And I'm not going to let it. I don't tend to hang on to things like baggage with people. Like there are people who I genuinely despise or don't want in my life. And I couldn't even tell you why, because if I knew the details, it would still eat at me in a way that I just won't allow it. But I keep that card. It's in my truck. When my girlfriend came down to visit, I pulled it out so she could see it as well. And that's when I decided exactly how I was going to end this, which was at whatever time in the future, if I'm still alive when my mom passes, I will take that card after taking a photograph of it, just so that there's evidence to reference, and I will bury it with her, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah, that sounds really cathartic and a good way to handle it.
Yep.
Let us know how it goes.
So
have your people contact our people. All right.
Absolutely. I look forward to hearing from you again, Isabel.
I will.
Thanks a bunch.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
Probably one of my biggest gripes, right, about what religion does to families is to see how it has distorted my parents' perception of love. Well, I have no doubt that they're motivated by what they feel is the right thing. But I mean, dealing with, I'm sure you've dealt with that nauseatingly condescending, bless your heart kind of, that poor, sheep has gone astray. And then they're actually more overt about making sure that they say something religious in my presence. That's almost
Yes.
like it has to explode out of them so that they know that I see it as insecurity, right? If you can't sit next to me in a room without at some point finding a way to go, and Jesus is real and evolution's false and the devil is everywhere and atheists or whatever, it has to explode out. If you can't stand it, it tells me that you're probably trying to convince yourself as much as you are trying to convince me. You're tremendously insecure about your position. But to watch this distortion of love language. Oh, I love you. We all love you. I get text all the time. All they say is, I love you. I love you. But what I feel is, I love you, but I'm disappointed. But I'm ashamed. But this is not how we raised you. But you're leading other people astray in your flock because they use religious language. And it builds up resentment and distance. And now I feel like we're all strangers, So I know it's hard for everybody, and I understand why she's walking softly, because familial consequences are very real. So
Yeah, it was actually, I hadn't forgotten about the birthday card and the letter that came with it, but when Christian was here and I pulled it out and she was looking at it, she starts reading, because it's a birthday card, but there's a handwritten note in there, a single page with my mom's stuff on the front and a little blurb for my dad at the back. But it's like, in the top left corner is a bunch of Bible verses. In the top right corner is what buffoon on YouTube she's been listening to that she thinks I should listen to. But when you go through and read this handwritten note, it's like certain words are in all caps, and they're all about, our Savior, and He is risen, and Mom wouldn't lie to you, and it's just, it's interesting, and don't get me wrong, I'm not miserable. Like, despite the fact that this problem existed, largely I'm okay with my parents in the sense that we can talk and have conversations as long as it's not about religion, and they know exactly where my line is now, because I tell them when I'm done talking about this. And by and large, they don't want to talk about any of this stuff at all. And so we know kind of where each other is. But we also know we love each other, but we have two different definitions and understanding of love. Like, I love them in the sense that everybody does. Like, oh, you are the offspring of this person, and therefore you are beholden to them, or something. It's like blood is thicker than water thing. At the end of the day, I don't care. Like, if my parents went off, I was ready to cut them out of my life. That was the conversation I had with my brother right before I went on the TV show to read that. And it was, if this ends my relationship with my parents, I'm fine with that because they did this, and it's tough. But it's also not the only thing we are as people. And I'll probably talk about this a little bit more later in the week. I want to make sure we get to more calls and stuff. But so we talk about the opposition in these various realms as if they're evil. They talk about us as if we're evil. We talk about them as if we're evil. And we're all guilty of it a little bit. Oh, the Republicans are evil, or Trump was evil, or the Democrats are evil, or, et cetera. And some of that may be true. But I think what's almost undeniably true is that all of us want a better world. We just disagree on what the better world looks like. And the only reason that we really seriously disagree about what a better world looks like is that some segment of the population has been convinced by their religion that the actual data and evidence don't make any difference. It's got to happen God's way. And so it doesn't matter what individual freedoms there are. It doesn't matter if it's, love between two people. If God says it's immoral for a man to have sex with a man, then that's the way it is. And there can be, so they've got this wall, this roadblock up. They genuinely want a better America, a better world. They just think a better world is no more gays. And it just drives me nuts, because how do you argue against I have a direct line to God. God is perfect. God gave me this, and this is the way. This must be the better world. How could it not be a better world? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe a world where we didn't have routine infant circumcision would be a better world. Maybe a world where we didn't have a book that you're pointing to that marginalizes women and it allows for slavery. That says that somebody's inferior because of the way they're born, or that we're all born broken and we are in desperate need of this thing that nobody can demonstrate is real. But by all means, let's vote for the things that are not in our self-interest just because this is the person who won't allow abortion.
Yeah.
That's
a whole other show. I could jump in, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to let the calls happen. But I'm sitting here on the edge of my chair going, oh my God, I've got so much I'd love to say, but let's do the calls.
And there's a bunch to it. And maybe we'll get you, maybe we'll get you on the hang up at some point.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.